Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today on the I Formation Sports Talk Show, where we talk sports from every angle. Talking from every angle. And it's hosted by me, your boy T ISO, baby. T ISO, aka Mr. Souvenir. Oh yeah. Put that thing about belt high, about belly button high, and see where it goes. It's gonna be a souvenir for somebody's kid. Yes, sir. Deep. And it's gonna be a great show today, guys. It's gonna be a great show. And if any of you know me, you know where we gotta start. We gotta start with the MLB, baby. We gotta start with my Atlanta Braves. Number one, leading the league right now. Number one offense, led by, the pitching staff is doing their thing. Chris, Sale is still, at the top of his game, but being led by Olsen, Baldwin, leading the league, the Olsen leading the league in RBIs, and Baldwin top 10 RBI guy, home runs. And that's without Acuna. That's without our miracle. Without Acuna. So hey, once that boy get back and get, get healthy, and he go on a tear, so if everybody and then Riley, he's coming to his own. He started off pretty slow. Albies is leading all second basemen, in slugging and and RBI, everything. He's the top second baseman in the league right now. And we're just doing our thing, man. I don't know. Bobby might be our angel. He might be our angel, man. Just carrying us to the promised land. But it is a long season. It is a long season. So you can't really count your eggs, before they hatch, because you can start off 50-0 and then lose 100, and just fall off the map. Injuries and slumps and things like that. And that's the game of baseball. You really want to be peaking towards about the last 40. Last 40 games, last 50 games. But starting off strong like we are is always a good thing, though. You're gonna have your ups and your peaks and valleys, ebb and flows, in a baseball season. But we riding high right now, man. I'm talking about we riding high. Um, when I think about it, they just started this. If you're a baseball fan, a Brave fan, they have this. They started their used to be TBS, but now they have Brave Vision, man. Or you can get the package. You can get the whole MLB package, and just really enjoy it, man. And just enjoy the game. It's a lot of parody. It's a lot of parody, and to be honest with you, I'm trying to think. I think the NL East is probably by far the worst, the worst division in baseball right now. But that's not saying that we're the best team in baseball because we're in the worst division. Because we've been playing a lot of good teams, man. But we are, and I'm trying to think who's the best. Who's the best? Who's the best? And I don't think we're not the best division, but I think that the Central, I would say the Central is probably about the best league. You know what I'm saying? The NL Central, because Cubs right there at the top. All them boys just really just doing their thing. And I think everybody's over 500. I think everybody's over 500. We might have one of them that's not, over 500, but they always, always been fighting in the Central, man. It just seemed like towards the end of the season, man, they always kind of just tail off, you know. And so, I give in the NL East the worst, and I'm giving the best to the NL, Central. You know, it's not saying a lot because the NL, have been really dominating the league. I think we represent the last, 3 or 4 World Series champions. You know, them Dodgers still doing their thing. Otani was on a bit of a slump, but and that's part of the reason, man. I really want to take you know Barry Bonds as the best ever because I can't remember Barry being in no slump, but you can't really beat a guy who pitches and hits like that. But we're gonna give it to him. We're gonna give it to him. Um, Paul Skeens, I almost flirted with a no hitter the other day. The league is, it's vibrant right now, especially coming off the World Baseball Classic. The league is vibrant right now, man. It's vibrant. It's fun to watch. You just gotta, like I always say, you just gotta understand the game, man, and throw yourself in the mix, man, because it's still fun. It's still that same kids game that everybody love. And then the visibility is at an all-time high, man. Man, you can get away with maybe $20 a month. You can have your field. I'm telling you, your field of your favorite team. So it's a beautiful time right now. But we can't. And I want to say this, before I wrap up this segment on the Major League Baseball season and how it's going. Salute to you, Bobby. Salute to you, my boy Bobby Cox. Passed away recently. Longtime Braves manager. Holds the record for the most consecutive playoff appearances. Only one championship, and I kind of blame him for that because a lot of some of the roster moves. He weighed heavy. Or it's between him and Maddox, man. Maddox, during the season, you playing different teams, and you can throw that stuff up there and and locate it, and it makes a difference, man. But in the playoffs, you playing the best offenses and everything. So, but when it's all said and done, he still was a true pioneer, true great Hall of Fame manager. And baseball is such a crazy sport, so you can't just put it all on a manager. He just make the best decisions he can. So we love you, Bobby. Rest in power, baby. Rest in peace. But yeah, we got to move on, man, to the MLB to the NBA, baby. To the NBA is fantastic right now. My Lakers got swept. OKC is good, man. OKC is good. They're deep too, bro. Boy, they are deep. They going 10. They going 10 deep, man. And for the playoffs and for a championship team, that's kind of unheard of. But that's what the league is right now. That slow down, slow pace. Basketball only. Playing your veterans. Those times have really passed us by. They've really passed us by now. It's high pace, and they want to, talk about how the players ain't as tough, and all these soft tissue injuries, and you hear it on ESPN and all that stuff like that. But man, it's a different game right now, man. This game is, I think the possessions alone, I think probably have doubled, man. Somebody have to look that stat up. Points, most definitely, man. You rarely see a team scoring, under 90 points a game. Growing up, man, shoot, 85 to, 85 to 81, was a game. You don't see that no more. You seeing 140s and 120s every night. And just a high-paced game. It's a little pick-up-ish, a little bit of pick-up-ish kind of, style. A lot of missed shots. but it's entertaining. We can, say we're gonna say it's entertaining. I'm a brand of basketball guy, so I can't just watch, everybody play. I haven't really enjoyed that Piston Cavs series, even though it's been, back and forth. You just really don't know. I picked the Cavs to beat the Pistons. Um, but I also picked Boston to beat the Cavs. Boston sitting at home right now. The Knicks was just too inconsistent. So I didn't think the Knicks would be there. So, but this Cavs series is 2-2 right now. They putting a lot, on the Detroit Star. They putting a lot on him, man. Uh, but but then again, you can, when you're dealing with the Cavs, Mitchell always gonna do his thing. You just don't know what you're gonna get from Harden, man. You know what I mean? They always play, decent defense, and so I still think the Cavs are gonna pull it out. You know what I'm saying? Just off sheer experience, um, alone. And that weighs heavy. That's a lot. That means a lot in the playoffs when you're dealing with, veteran players and players who've been there, who kind of understand what it takes in the grueling, what's the word I'm trying to say, grueling, process of the playoffs. Because it's getting late. Everybody dealing with injuries, it's tough. It's a tough time of the year. Um, you just never know how the ref's gonna call, the game, and they giving home cooking, so. But I still think the Cavs gonna pull it out. You know, they got New York sitting there waiting for them, and I think that this rest for New York is gonna, bode them really good, man, really well. You know, I don't think this is gonna hurt them at all. Because I think they figured it out. Cat looked like he be hurting this the whole every game. He seemed like he barely, holding on, man, run up and down that court. So I'm quite sure he'll probably, he'll appreciate this time off or this time, this resting period. Um, and I'm officially, change my pick. I think the Knicks gonna beat whoever they match up with in this series. So I think the Knicks going to the finals. I think Knicks going to the finals, man. And to be honest with you, I think that I don't think that New York can beat OKC. I don't think so. But I do think they can beat the Spurs. I do think they can beat the Spurs. And the reason why I say that is that, the matchups. You know what I'm saying? One particular matchup, Wemby and Towns. Towns gonna be out on the outskirts. So Wemby, I don't know if he's gonna be able to just sit in the paint, like he can with against Milwaukee, and just play defense. I think Towns gonna bring him out. And but Towns he can't do that. OKC is just such a better defensive team. And then they're so deep. They're so deep, man, that they can play either style. They really can just play either style. So if OKC, prevails, already, OKC is already in the final, in the West Conference final. If Spurs match up with the OKC, and I think that Spurs can beat OKC. They have all year. But it's playoffs, a different ball game. And so we'll see if OKC get Jalen Williams back. Wemby, is dominant on so many aspects, and they probably going to take a few notes from the Lakers and what the Lakers did to SGA. So I think that OKC gonna have their hands full if the Spurs prevail. And and if you familiar with the show that I made my predictions earlier about Minnesota, and I felt like if a healthy Edwards, a good healthy Edwards, I think that they could have, what I'm saying, they could, could beat, everybody with just, sheer brutality. You know what I mean? Because those guys play with brutality. And when you have a superstar like Edwards who can take over a game, you really can beat anybody. You really can beat anybody. So, but I don't know if they're gonna be able to beat the Spurs, man, with him being, not, if he was at least about 70%, I think he probably about 40%. So, I think it's gonna be tough. So I'm picking the Spurs to come out that series. I'm picking the Spurs to beat OKC. Even though they're young, but OKC, man, is good, man. They're good. If they can get past them Spurs, I think they're gonna win another championship back to back. And Wemby is my MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. But they're gonna give the SGA. The way the NBA works. Number one seed, MVP. So. But we're gonna see. They sitting there waiting and resting up, waiting for the winner of the two. And so, but a lot of people think that New York is the best team in basketball right now. I'm gonna say OKC because Philadelphia, they're okay, but they wasn't really nothing. What I'm saying? They should have beat them down like they beat them down. What I would really like to see at least 1 year, just 1 year. Just 1 year. They need to sit Embiid down, just sit him down for most of the season, man. At least about 60% of the season. Just sit him down. Don't even bring him. Just tell him, man, go somewhere. Go on vacation or something. You know what I mean? And come back, rest up, come back, and then so you can have him towards the end of the season. Because they have him, in good shape towards the end of the season, man, they just a better team. They need to change the process, not trust the process, change the process. Because he's too valuable. He's too valuable, man. And that young guard is, throw too. But he's so inconsistent, man, and that I think that you can't put this franchise on him. But he's explosive, man. You got to put your money somewhere. So, he's proven that he can do it. And as you age, you get more consistent at doing a lot of things. So, but that's just my opinion. And the big question is is LeBron coming back? Is he coming back to the Lakers? Is they gonna bring him back? A lot of Lakers fans said that he ran his course. I think he's coming back. I don't think they really have a choice because he's such a great. His son is there. Just such a great story. He played so great this year. But I think he should go to Cleveland. And just go back home. Call it a season, call it a career, and go on a farewell tour. But deep in my heart, I don't think he should go on a farewell tour. To be honest with you, I would love for him to just announce his retirement, and just chunk the deuces up everybody. Because he's been underrated this whole career. I know that sounds crazy to say LeBron been underrated, but yeah, they haven't appreciated. I haven't appreciated him. To be honest with you, Kobe's my GOAT. I haven't appreciated him, and so I think that him just fading into the sunset, man. I think is the best way for him, because he's always been a very unselfish player. So I think his personality, is that of such, that he can gracefully bow out, because especially if the Lakers act like they don't want to re-sign him. Your son there, I think Cleveland would be a great matchup fit for him. Maybe Dallas. There's a few teams out there that probably could use him to try to put them over the top. Some would say New York, but I don't know. I don't know if he'll fit in, but it'll be money maker. It'll be great for the league. But he had a great season this year, so salute to you, LeBron. Salute, baby. We appreciate you. We all can appreciate your character, your hard work, because ain't nobody never seen nobody play this far into their career at such a high level. So, but yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for us, guys. Thank y'all for joining me. Follow me. Subscribe, comment, like. Everything, man. I-Formation Sports Talk Show 100. Because I'm here, man. I'm here. All the time. Email me iFormation at Gmail. If you want to listen to the show live, it comes on at 10 o'clock Saturday, and then we play it again on Mondays, same time, 10 o'clock. Man, appreciate you, man. And all I want to do is be a part of your collective. Can I be a part of your collective? Let me be. Peace.